We're one. We're not two people. We're not two people. We're one person. Our fingers are teaching. The things that we pick up, the things that we don't pick up, are also teachers. If we don't pick up this word, and our kids don't see us picking it up and reading it and studying it, they don't see us doing those things and picking up hymn books and singing, boy, you know what? Let's teach them. It's not very important to sing those songs. It's not very important to pick up that Bible and for me to read it. Not very important for me to read the Word of God. I think it's very important. This would be something that some people might disagree with. I think it's very important that kids see a mom and dad love each other. I've heard people where my mom and dad never touched. I never saw them touch. I ain't seen anything beyond the bedroom door. I'm talking about there's nothing in the world wrong with kids seeing mom and dad hug each other and love each other. They're supposed to see their mom and dad love each other and kiss and hold hands and put their arm around each other. And, you know, that's natural. There's nothing in the world ungodly with that. Look at a couple other verses, if you will, on this. Look at chapter 14, verse 1 of Proverbs. Proverbs 14, verse 1. This is talking about a wise woman. We mentioned this verse on Mother's Day, I believe. Proverbs 14:1 says, every wise woman. Don't leave out none of them. Every wise woman. You say, well, I know one, but she's not wise. Because it says every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. The wise woman would use her hands to build her house, and in contrast, a foolish woman plucketh it down with her hands. What it says. Look over at chapter 31. We talked about this morning. Bathsheba wrote this. Solomon's mom. This is after certainly she had repented and her sin. God had forgiven her. This is sometime later. Look at what she does with her hands. This is a wise woman. Let's see here. Verse 13 says she, let's go back up to verse 10. This is a verse that I put best name beside in the Bible. I don't know if anybody likes that or not. Just tell you what I did. It says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. I did. Ben. I did. They're hard to find. I know Brother Jack did. In this game. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Verse 13. This virtuous woman says, she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. Willingly with her hands. That's what a virtuous woman does. Worketh willingly with her hands. Look at verse 16. Verse 16. Let's see here. It says, she considereth the field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She planteth a vineyard. Look at verses 19 through 20. It says, she layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold this staff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. Now, I tell you a good example of this. We could look at the Old Testament lady, Dorcas. It's a fine example. A fine example in the New Testament. I can tell you, some 2,000 years later, hadn't known her very long, but I tell you, Miss Jane is a good example of verse 19 and 20. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hand to the needy. Here's our modern day Dorcas over here. Here she is, Miss Jane. She's looking at me like I'm weird. But she's all time baking. She's all time cooking and taking food to people and knocking on doors, and she's all time willing to sew and do things for people. That's what it says a virtuous woman does. Amen. Look at verse 31. It says, give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. It says, give her of the fruit of her hands. You say, we haven't Mother's Day yet? No. I'm trying to show you what your hands are teaching. Your hands are teaching. And it's true for men. Men are teaching things with their hands nowadays. So we need to be careful. If we're teaching the wrong thing, you be sure that before long, we'll be broken without remedy. We'll be broken without remedy. The next thing that this wicked person is characteristic of, it says in verse 14, it says, frowardness is in his heart, which we discussed with the first part. And it says, he deviseth mischief continually. He deviseth mischief. Deviseth means that he's inventing. He's trying to scheme or plan and come up with ways to get into trouble, as if there isn't already enough ways that just come already. I remember when I was young, my mama would tell me, Mark, now you go out and play today, but don't you go out there and get no trouble. You know what she's telling me? Don't you go out there and stir up something to devise this mischief. Because there's going to be enough mischief already in the works without you trying to work up something. And I'm fixing to break our light bulb. And sure enough, sometimes I would get out there and I would devise up some mischief. I didn't know what the word devise, but I sure didn't know what scheming mean and planning and getting it and look for something that would get me in trouble. I remember, I'm going to share this testimony of my own stupidity. I stole some shotgun shells when I was about 9 years old. They weren't my dad's. I stole them out of our Christian school. I took them out of file cabinet. I guess some kid or something brought them to school, and they took them. And there was 2 shotgun shells, and I saw them, and I took them. I kept them. Where we lived over in Augusta, Georgia, we had a big clay pit behind our house, a humongous clay pit. And that was my play yard. And I could play anywhere out there. I'd go out there and I'd build tunnels and frog houses and run forever. And I mean, for acres and acres and acres, just clay fields and hills, and I'd get lost out there in that clay. And but this particular time, I had stolen 2 shotgun shells. I had no idea what they were. I had no idea. I didn't know what they were. I didn't know the danger of them. And I thought personally, I'd seen some fireworks. I thought they looked, they kind of look like fireworks. They look red. They're kind of shiny end. It's kind of pretty. And I said, I bet them things a fire, and they'll be very pretty. And so I had no idea. And so I took the shotgun shell, and if you know anything about shotgun shells, you don't want to be hitting on them, especially going in. I held the shotgun shell in my hand. I picked up a rock. And the firing end, the part with the silver part, is the part that you put in the gun, and it's poking out. So when you do fire the gun, it will fire and hit the firing pin will hit it, and it will shoot and explode and go out the gun. I had no idea how dangerous, how stupid what I was fixing to do. I took the shotgun shell, 9 years old, mischievous, remember, divisive. I was inventing, trying to find something, plan and scheme. I stole something. That was the first mistake. I stole something and said, boy, I'm going to have some fun. So I was fixing to have some fun. I picked up that shotgun shell, and I took me a rock, and I went to beating on that thing. Right there in front of my face, holding that thing in my hand. And you'll think God's watching over you sometimes.
Amen.
I shouldn't have a hand today. Could be dead. 9 years old, I didn't know. And the beats on that thing. I bet I hit that thing 15, 20 times. I don't know why I didn't fire. Because I certainly could hit it hard enough as a 9-year-old boy. I said, food, this one broke. And I threw it away. I had another one though. I did the same thing with that. It never did fire. If it did fire, I would be here probably. I finally threw it away too. Boy, you're talking about mischievous. You're talking about inventing something. That's God's providence. Should have been dead. At the very least, my hand blown off. Now, if you stand up here today and would have a nub, I'd be preaching with one hand. But because of His marvelous grace and His mercy, He said, boy, that boy, he's stupid. I'm going to protect him regardless. I'm going to protect him. He don't deserve it because he stole that. He's going to pay for it, and I did pay for it. But because of His love, His mercy, and His grace, He protected me. Boy, that was one time I fall right in line with this wicked person, boy. Boy, at 9 years old, boy, did I go out and try to find something to do that I didn't need to have no part in. I was divisive mischief. I didn't do it continually, thank God, but I did do it once. There's forgiveness for once, twice. You keep doing it continually. You go out and you keep looking for something to get into, you know what? The devil will open the door. He'll open the door. You go out looking for the wrong kind of guy, you know what? You'll find the wrong kind of guy. You go out looking for a trouble and a girl or a guy or whatever, those doors and opportunities are everywhere out there. They're everywhere. I've worked in Atlanta. I've worked back home. We've been talking about going to Atlanta. Boy, Atlanta's different than back home. Atlanta's different than here. There's a lot of opportunities in Atlanta ain't here. I didn't like that city. To me, it was like a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. I didn't like it at all. I don't like Asheville because it reminds me of Atlanta. I just think it's a wicked place and terrible. And there's places that you devise evil, there's people that devise evil. And that's what he says is that if you want to be broken without a reason, you start looking for trouble and you're surely going to find it. Trouble's already knocking at your door. There's already enough trouble. There's already enough temptation with our flesh and with our places of work that we work with people that say, hey, you're going to do this. In fact, we got some friends, or I say friends, they're not really friends, some co-workers of Hannah's and the girls, says they just believe that when Hannah turns 21 here in September, she's going to go to the strip bar with them. They just are persistent about, oh yeah, you're going, it's a done deal. And I said, I ain't going nowhere with you. They said, oh yeah, you'll change your mind until you want, you'll get to go. And I said, I ain't going, I'm a Christian. I don't do that kind of stuff like you do. But they just bugging her and knocking on her door, trying to help her find mischief. See, there's plenty of opportunity without you having to go look for it. It's out there everywhere you look. Look at verse 18. This is one of the 6 things that God hates, and the 7th one is an abomination. It says, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. That's listed right there at verse 16 where it says, these 6 things doth the Lord hate. You say, oh, God hates things? Yeah, He hates sin. Imagine that. And some He hates worse than others because He said the 7th one, He is an abomination. It means He hates it worse than the others. But He hates those that deviseth, the heart that deviseth wicked imagination. They sit around with nothing to do and just think about, what can I get into? I wonder if I did this. And you better be careful with your mind. You're allowing your mind to think and to wonder and think about, well, I wonder how this would be if I was with him. I wonder if I would marry him, what would happen? I wonder if I went with this person somewhere and I ain't supposed to go, what would happen? You're right. You'll get in big trouble. Your imaginations are the wicked. And the devil, he'll fill your mind and fill you with lies and thinking, well, it won't be that bad. It won't be that bad. You probably can get away with it. Your mom and dad probably won't even know about it. That's what the devil will tell you. That's what the devil will tell you. We have to be careful as Christians. Because that is the same thing that got David in trouble. Remember that the wickedness in his mind? The men were going off to war. He was looking. Undoubtedly he already knew Bathsheba took a bath at a certain time. And he was watching her. You say, well, she shouldn't have been on the house roof. That's right. She should have been on the top of a house taking a bath so people could see her. David should have been at war. And he wouldn't have been worried about it. But he knew that, and he was watching and looking because he was already thinking, I'd like to have her. I'd like to, go to bed with her. The devil said, oh, you can get away with it. Here, let me give you a plan. I'll tell you what, next time they go to war, you stay at home, you call her to your place, you do what you want to do, and then you get rid of her husband. And David thought, that's a pretty good plan, why? Because he did it. And then he thought he'd get away with it. He thought nobody knew about it. Everybody knew about it. The whole kingdom knew about it. He wasn't deceiving nobody. And he certainly didn't deceive God. And old Nathan the prophet come and told him a parable or a story about the sheep. And one guy came and took a sheep. He said, man, I didn't like that. He was the one who stole the sheep. He had a bunch of sheep.